Well, hello there, everybody. It's good that you're with me. I just want to apologize, first of all, if there are any issues with the microphone. I've been sitting in this chair with this camera and all of my different microphones for the last 3 hours trying to get something to work. So the only thing that I can seem to get to work properly is the camera, of course, is the picture, and the microphone is actually my laptop, which is sitting right here. So I apologize for that. So if you have any issues, I don't mean to sound bad, but I'm doing the best I can. Hey, we have a super chat already. Charlottetown Spud. Don't know a lot about the VW DSG transmission. Is it normal for them to be a bit jumpy when starting from a dead stop? Hard shifts using the paddles. Yeah, it's totally normal because Charlottetown Spud, I guess we're getting right into it. I just saw we had a super chat come up, so I got excited. So if you want to do a super chat, you can type away in there. Nice to hear from you again, Charlottetown Spud. Yes, what you have is a DSG is a dual clutch, and here's his question, which means that it's really a manual transmission automatically controlled. So if you've ever driven a manual transmission, you know you have to sort of feather the clutch in and out to sort of move slowly on and off the throttle and on and off the clutch. Well, exact same thing is happening in the transmission, but it's all done automatically. So the best way to describe a dual clutch transmission is a manual transmission automatically controlled. Okay? So there you go. Jim Carson is saying on time for once. Hey, come on now. Be nice, Jim. I'm on time. It's the scheduling of YouTube, for whatever reason, their algorithm is makes it weird. Okay, so a couple of things. Car Cost Canada, of course, is the main sponsor of the channel. We'd love for you to go over there and sign up using the promo code Motormouth and let me know that you've done that, and if you've ever gotten any deals. Certainly going to be lots of deals for the upcoming months. And also let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm going to look at the bottom here. Is everything all right? We can all hear okay? All right. Sounds like it. Okay, let's get into the questions here. Keith M. Is there any such thing as an honest car dealership? Yeah, I think there is, actually. And it all comes down to the training that the dealerships have, right? If they train their staff properly to treat you like a real human being and really like a customer, then you're going to be given a fair shake. I think that a lot of the dealerships that don't really invest in good training are the ones where you still get some, some sort of sleazy deals. But here's the thing is car dealers are in it to make money. And when you walk on the lot, you're a target to make money. That's just the way it is. And I always tell people, when you're shopping for a car, you should also be shopping for a dealership. And when you go into a dealership, the first thing I would say going on the lot is, I'm not buying a car today. I'm not buying a car today. I'm here to sort of interview your dealer, your salespeople, to see if you're a good fit for me. And if you don't get a good vibe and they don't treat you with respect and they don't give you time once you've said that, go down the street to another dealership of the same brand and see if they'll treat you with respect. A good dealership and a good salesperson will say, no problem. Yeah, I'm here if you have any questions. Any of the products you want to look at, let me know. When you are serious about, shopping for a car, we'd love to get a crack at your business. If that's the answer, that's somebody you want to do business with. But always keep in mind, when you're in the business office, that's the person that signs all the paperwork with you. When they're trying to sell you extended warranties and rust protection and etching in the glass, they're just another salesperson, okay? That's all they are. Nick R. It'd be nice if the price of the car was just that. You pay, you go, you pay. There's so much BS afraid of... well, here's the thing. Brands are starting to learn that all-in pricing isn't a bad way to go. Look at the Genesis model here in Canada. There is no dickering with the price. You actually order the car online and a dealership just fulfills the order, basically, is how that works. So I think that brands that are going to be going to sort of like an online pricing model in the future. I don't think there's going to be an appetite for a lot of that today, but I think as we go forward, Tesla has proven that out, that people will buy directly. So I think that if you can get people to order the car online and the price is set and they just go and get the car at the dealership, people will like that. Steve Kluche. Hey, Zach, is there any chance you have any information on the new Kia K5? Thanks, from your East Van neighbor. Well, Steve, if you follow along with the channel regularly, you would know that there's actually a video on the K5. I put a video out last week when they showed it for the first time. What I think you're asking for are the specifics on the trim levels and things like that. They haven't divulged that. I actually emailed the PR person from Kia Canada and said, what can we expect in terms of all-wheel drive? Because I even said it in the little video that I did. The video they sent us to use to sort of promote the car and show everybody the car was their GT all-wheel drive. But then I asked the question, so does this confirm that all-wheel drive is coming? And they wouldn't confirm it. My belief is yes, they're going to have all-wheel drive in the K5. Are they going to have it on every trim? I'm not sure, but I would bet, you know, $100 that, yeah, it's going to be available at least, and would be smart if it was all-wheel drive. Here's Kevin. Nice to see you. Just sold my girlfriend's Dodge Dart for $7,500. She wants something more reliable like a Honda Civic now. Well, that's a good choice. It's a great product. Honda Civic has earned the right to have great resale value because they just keep on doing the job. Have you seen the Hyundai Porsche, not a typo, camper van? No, I haven't seen that. But it was interesting because when we were at the Tokyo Motor Show, in November, which seems like an eternity ago that there was actually a motor show that we flew across the world to attend, and there was international media, and that was November, and then you fast forward a few months and now we're all locked in our houses. It's just so weird. So no, I don't really remember seeing that particular one, but they had such cool camper vans at the Tokyo Motor Show, and I love going, and there's a young woman, I don't know, it's all in Japanese, but I like going, and she does tours of trailers and motorhomes in Japan, and they have some cool stuff. So I'm sure the Koreans are no different. Bruce says, are there no garages in Vancouver? Residential streets packed with cars? Well, the interesting thing is that I moved here to British Columbia almost 30 years ago. It'll be 30 years ago next May, so like 29 years ago. And what I found out about Vancouver and what I actually like is in the grid pattern of the city, for every street there's a laneway, and that's not always the case. Like I grew up in Toronto, and some streets have lanes, but a lot don't. So I like the fact there's lanes. The garbage truck goes down the lane, doesn't, you know, you have to put the garbage on the curb, you put it in the back lane. But the problem is a lot of the garages in the back, like mine, is just a small little garage. My house is almost 100 years old and the garage is tiny. But I think what you're seeing is the fact that there's just more density. Like, so yeah, you're on a residential street and you see a house, but you might not know that that house might be actually 3 different units, right? Like a basement apartment, main floor apartment, maybe even a coach house in the back. Hey, Zach, do resale value only matter to brand new cars or used ones? How much of a compromise do you make between a car when you really want and the resale value? Sorry, I want to read that again. I've set this thing to disappear after 10 seconds. I think I'm going to put it back to 15 seconds. How much of a compromise do you make between the car that you really want and its resale value? Well, this is a very personal thing. I think that you have to really, you know, ask yourself, do you really care that much? I will tell you that the single biggest cost of owning a car is resale value. The difference between what you paid for it and what you sell it for. Now, the good news is with used cars, they depreciate, and then often with used cars, they'll kind of flatten out, or the trajectory is like this initially, then it sort of flattens out, it still goes down. So if you can sort of time it for that sweet spot, excuse me, I seem to think that's like between 5 and 7 years old in my rough estimation looking at it. That you can buy a car, keep it for a couple of years and sell it, and you don't lose that much value. But you have to really know that the biggest cost to you when buying a car is the resale value. Cars that depreciate quicker cost you a lot more money. So yeah, if you really, really love it and you don't care, get it. Mark is saying, what are your thoughts on the 2021 Elantra N? Yeah, I saw the press release came out on that, and I haven't really dug too much into it, to be honest with you, which makes me think about another vehicle where I did get the information that was followed up on the leak, and that was the Mazda 3 Turbo. So it was leaked out of Mexico, where they make the Mazda car, a lot of Mazda cars, that yes, there is going to be a turbo 2.5 liter engine, and they're putting that in that car. So I was saying last time, well, wouldn't it be nice if they updated it to independent rear suspension and so on? Doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems to be that they're adding basically just the larger engine, which is great, but it would be nice if they did a few other things with it. I have to do more research on the Elantra N. Huge Haggis is here. Enjoying the show outside with a beer tonight. I love it. I remember spending Sundays watching all the auto journalist TV shows. Now we're spoiled for choice on YouTube. How's the transition, and which do you prefer? I would say that it's really quite interesting when I go out in public and people recognize me. There seems to be a real line when it comes to age. So people typically over 40, 45 recognize me from TV. And then people younger recognize me from YouTube. And certainly people under 30 recognize me from YouTube. So, yeah, we have different audiences. YouTube is very immediate. I can shoot a video, I can edit it that evening and have it on, broadcast here on YouTube the next day. TV, it takes such a long time because a TV show is made up of 5 or 6 segments. Each segment had to be shot. Each segment had to be edited. The show had to be compiled. Then it had to be scheduled. Closed captioning has to be added. All those sorts of things. The one thing I will say, though, people love seeing their cars on TV, like car companies. Having their car seen on TV is still a very powerful thing. So there's both very valid audiences, but they're very different. One is a long time, like I've been emailing Brad Diamond from Motoring TV. We're planning the fall shows, and here we are in July, and those will not air until September. So it's a real long delay. Have you heard any rumors on the next redesigned Toyota Prius Prime? Well, first of all, we've got to get a new updated Prius. Interestingly enough, I don't have a picture here. I just did an interview with Stephen Beattie from Toyota Canada and their product planner, Philippe Crow, talking about the new Venza. And I just, before, a couple hours before we're going here, I was doing that interview, and I have to package that up and edit it and get it out. But I asked about the RAV4 Prime, the Venza, and all those sorts of things, and how many we're going to get into the market. They're not telling me what their allotment is for these cars. So even if I ask them what's next for the Prius Prime, they're not going to be forthcoming and tell me outright. It's just the way they operate. Car companies, you can ask them and they'll say, we don't talk about future products. And I say, yeah, but I do. That's my world. I talk about future products. So yeah, I don't have any specifics for you. All I can say is that Toyota, and it was included in the interview I did today, is going to have electrified version of every vehicle available by 2025. So here we are, 2021 models are coming in the next few weeks. So that's just 4 model years away. Each version of a Toyota vehicle will either be fully hybrid or available hybrid or plug-in hybrid. So yeah, you just have to wait. And honestly, not that much. Zach, what is horsepower versus torque? This is a hard one. And, the best way I've been taught it is torque is the twisting motion. Torque is that initial launch and twisting that moves you down the road, and horsepower is the sort of peak output of sort of an engine. So it's and there's an overlap there, but there's a great phrase that I heard, that you pay for horsepower but you use torque. So you pay to have a high horsepower car, but what you're really using off the stoplight and from traffic light to traffic light and merging in and out of traffic is torque. And that sort of low to mid-range torque that is very satisfying. And one reason why I like diesel vehicles, because they deliver gobs of torque. And a lot of people like electric vehicles because they have a massive amount of torque, and it's very satisfying. So it's a better question for an engineer, but torque is the twisting motion. That initial sort of launch is what you really get with torque. Hey, Raj is here. I said he looks like maybe the slightly thinner Rock, Dwayne Johnson there. I bought my mom a new Honda Civic, 0% lease, $3,500 discount. Let me hit this again. Wow, Car Cost Canada helped too. Well, there you go. I love to hear it. The gang at Car Cost Canada would like to see that as well. So Car Cost Canada, if you do have an eye to get something, whether you're leasing it or buying it, please sign up using the promo code MotorMouth and find the discount. So there you go. $3,500 discount on a brand new Honda Civic with 0% interest. We're going to see more of these, trust me. And that's a high volume car. Like, that's not a low volume car at all. They make them in Ontario. They're pumping them out as quickly as demand has. So yeah, we're going to see more and more and more of these sorts of things coming up. And the best way to find out what they are is to sign up. Raul's here saying, what would you recommend buying, a used 18 Tesla Model X over a brand new Model Y? I think it really comes down to what your budget is and what size you need. Like, the Model Y isn't that big, you know, and there's going to be more options. I mean, the Mustang Mach-E is sort of similar in size and kind of shape to the Model Y. It's going to be interesting to drive that to see what Ford is able to do. You know, there's been lots of issues around build quality of the new Model 3. J.D. Power gave it its lowest score. It came in dead last. A lot of it was around assembly of the car, not the electronics, not the motors, none of that. The assembly of the car. And the Model X was also riddled with those problems. So something to consider. Have you thought of an e-tron if you're looking for just a conventional SUV? Oh, Jim Carson's writing back. He said, I'm on time. I thought he was talking about me. He said, no, he's here. He says, I'm on time. I'm watching. I usually watch after the show ends. Well, that's good to hear. And it sounds that the audio is loud and clear. Thank you, Kevin, for letting me know that. I'm just going to go to the bottom here, see if I'm missing anything. We do have a super chat. Super chat is Seymour Rutz. Hey, Zach, glad to see you're running the live streams again. Encourage everyone to do the old sip and slam. What's that? What's the old slip and slam? You sip and we slam the like button. All right, let's get on that. A second. Jack. Jack. Oh, I'm going to have to text him. The old slip and slam. I like that. Where is that boy? Beer o'clock. See if he gets it. We can do the slip and slam. I like that. All right, any other super chats I missed? So there's another one here. Raj is saying, I'm having a Corona. What are you having? Cheers. Thanks for the live streams. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. So if anybody wants to do a super chat, I'm down for that. Got to find where I was, though. And by the way, you can also slam the like button without me having a beer. We'll get the beer, though. What did he say? Okay, let's see what he brings. Portuguese water dog. I have a bad habit of buying cars every few years, but I do always try and trade them in at the break-even point, so not carrying over negative equity. That's a really bad idea. If you're thinking about getting, I can hear him coming now. Come in, sir. Entree. What do you have today? Oh, it's Beck's o'clock. Say hi to everybody, Jack.
Hi.
There he is. Time for a haircut.
Yeah.
I sip. You slam the like button. And that's the subscriber sip. Now, most of you have subscribed because you're getting notification. So negative equity is when you take money that is owed from the car that you have and you roll it into the next loan. We'll use a round number like $1,000. And your next car is $30,000. So now you owe $31,000. Now $1,000 wouldn't be the end of the world, but sometimes you can be $5, $6, $7, $8, $10,000 out. And dealerships will do this. They'll say, "Don't you worry about that. We'll just roll it into your next payment." You never get out from that. It's what's called being upside down. So you want to always make sure that you can, as Portuguese Water Dog says, you want to be able to move out of one card into another and just pick up new payments. You don't want to be rolling any of that negative equity. And that's another reason when you see these car ads where it's 0% interest for like 7 years, do not touch those, because you're better to lease over 3 years and know what your payments are. Do not get into 6 and 7 year terms, because you'll always be upside down. You'll always owe more than the car is worth, okay? Raj is back. Why is Android Auto not available in Porsches but available in other Volkswagen companies like Audi? Dude, I have no idea. I brought it up with them. I've been in on trips with them, and I say, I'm an Android owner. I'm an Android and a Porsche owner, and why don't you support Android? And they say, oh, our studies show that people who buy Porsches own Apple products. And I'm like, yeah, I own both. You are watching me right now. This is all Apple. But I have an Android phone, and I also have a Porsche. Speaking of Porsche, you know what I noticed? I watched back this a few times. I'm going to get it to focus here. I've watched this back a few times. And it's interesting that often what I'm talking about, there's a corresponding car in the background. Why isn't it focusing? Oh my God, I got to tell you, switching to new gear is so frustrating. Hello? There, I think we got it now. Thoughts on the new A5 Sportback? This is more of a facelift. I didn't really see much different about it, but I like the lift back. The only problem I have with the A5 is that it's really small in the back. Would you choose an X3 or an XT5? Personally, let me get this to focus. That's what you don't need to see, is me really big. There we go, that's better. I like the XT5, but the X3, in my opinion, is a better car. I just think it is. And then I like the XT4. I think that's a fine little car. And somebody sent me pictures, and I got to figure out how to add the pictures in here. I'll get to that. But yeah, I would say X3 over XT5. Any thoughts on reviewing a plug-in Cayenne hybrid with Android? Would really like to hear your thoughts comparing it to a diesel. That's a good thought. Unfortunately, there's only one press car on the fleet right now, and that's the 911 Cabriolet, which we just did a video on. So we'd have to get one from the dealership, because the way that Porsche did their press fleet in Canada is they would only put like 1 or 2 cars on in the Vancouver fleet, but then they would always invite me to events. Like, so I would fly to Europe and test drive these cars first before anybody else. So there is a video on the Cayenne hybrid on the channel, and I got to drive it in France. So that was always a nice luxury, is that I got to fly and go and test these vehicles before anybody else. But hopefully they're going to be putting more cars on like that for us to test drive. It's a good idea. Is that vodka? I think you're talking about what's in the glass. No, that's just water. This is beer. This is time for the sip. We're only at 61 likes, guys. You can do better than that. This is from Mike Shaw. Hydrogen versus normal air in tires. Hydrogen seems worse in cold weather. Pressure drops. Also conflicting reports whether you can mix the two in the tire. I don't think it's hydrogen they put in there. What is it again? It's not hydrogen. It's supposed to be the opposite of that. It's nitrogen. Nitrogen in the tires, not hydrogen. And the reason that nitrogen is because it doesn't expand and contract with the cold. So it's actually the opposite. It should actually keep the tires inflated. If you had 30 psi and you were driving on the highway on a hot day, the heat of the tire and the heat of the road wouldn't put the tire pressure up, which does happen with regular air. Nitrogen is something they put in tires for race cars for just that reason. It keeps the tire pressure consistent. And if you're going to put it in, you can put air in with it. I've heard that you can for sure. Some people charge for this a lot, and I don't understand it. Air works just fine. If they're going to put tires on your car and they're going to put nitrogen in and it's free, yeah, fill your boots, but I don't see why. I mean, when using air for so long and it seems to work just fine, so I think you're talking about nitrogen, and I think it's the opposite. I think it's that the tire pressure isn't supposed to change. Richard T., greetings from Chestermere, Alberta. Nice that you're here. Jeff is here saying, I took your advice, drove 2 models of the same car, one with independent rear suspension, one without, and totally noticed the difference. Would not have noticed without driving back to back. A lot of times, independent rear suspension doesn't really show itself until you need a sort of an emergency maneuver or sudden lane change or even hard braking and maneuvering around something like jamming on the brakes and having to go around something. Independent rear suspension certainly helps with those situations. But yeah, it's when you do back-to-back that you kind of notice it. Some of the new sort of solid rear axles that they developed, like for the Jetta and for the Mazda 3, are actually quite good, to the point where I give them a pass. I think they're actually totally acceptable. What you used to get with older systems is what's called axle hop. So you'd go over a bump and the whole rear suspension would just jump over a bump, and it would be kind of crashy, where independent suspension alleviates that. But they're able now with the new setups to put in a less expensive, what's called torsion beam, solid axle, but also eliminate that axle hop. For example, the Jetta is a very good example of it done right. I would still personally prefer an independent rear suspension, which you can get in that car if you get the GLI, but it's good that you took it out for a drive and noticed that for yourself. Hey Zach, can you explain the market cap situation with Tesla? Is all just based on speculation? Surely Tesla is not more valuable than giants like Toyota and GM, Volkswagen, Nissan, Renault. It's absolutely not. I was listening, this is a very good point, and I'm going to sort of paraphrase an analyst. I listen to CNBC all the time when I'm driving. CNBC is the business channel. Somebody said, oh, you listen to MSNBC. It's like, no, I don't listen to MSNBC. I listen to CNBC. They just happen to have 3 of the same letters. But the CNBC is the business channel, and they had an analyst talking about Tesla, the market cap. I mean, the share price is crazy. Like, just think about this. A Toyota manufactures and sells over 10 million vehicles worldwide year after year after year. Okay, Tesla might make 400,000 cars this year. Okay, that's one factory for Toyota. The Cambridge factory in Cambridge, Ontario will make 300,000 RAV4s this year. And then you add in the Lexus products. So one plant from Toyota makes what roughly Tesla's going to put out this year. Maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. That company makes 10 million cars worldwide, and they have billions and billions of dollars in the bank, or yen. And they also have a research and development capability that would choke a camel, right? So just think about a company like Toyota and what they're capable of doing and the research they're doing, and Tesla is worth more than them. It makes no sense. So here's what the analyst said. He said, there's going to be a time where the future hype that is surrounding the stock in Tesla actually has to pay out. So the reason why the share price is so high is people believe that in 10 years from now, Tesla is going to be the dominant player in the automotive space. So they will be the next Toyota, the next General Motors, the next Volkswagen Group. They're going to be such a dominant factor in the electric car space that they're going to totally dominate, and everybody else is going to fall by the wayside. Well, that could happen, but here's another scenario. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe Tesla has a good run for a few years, but then maybe they have issues with their cars. Maybe there's more repairs that need to be done. Maybe they have some kind of scandal. Like, things can happen, right? Look at Carlos Ghosn being charged in Japan and smuggled out of a piano case and then onto a private jet. Like, stuff goes on, right? No one would have known a pandemic is going to hit either. So the promise is that this is going to be the dominant factor in the auto industry in the next 10 years. That could very well be the case. But trust me, the board members of Toyota and Nissan and Volkswagen and all, they're not sitting on their hands, and they're not waiting around, and they are going to be coming after them. We're going to have to wait to see what happens. But the share price is based purely on that play. And will that happen? Will they be the dominant player in the automotive space in 10 years? We're going to have to wait and see. What's the easiest way of getting allocation for popular Porsche models in Vancouver, like the GT3? Purchased used overpriced model, then traded in? I would say, speaking to the dealer, getting to know the general sales manager, probably your best shot is to own a GT car and have a relationship with the dealer. And then, have you bought many cars from them? It's the same thing in the watch game. Like, if you've never bought a high-end Rolex watch from a watch dealer, are they going to, if you walk in and say, oh, I want a new Rolex Submariner, and they go, well, there's a waiting list for a year to get one. Oh, but I'm here with cash. Oh, wait a second. There's a guy who has bought 6 watches from us over the last 10 years and has bought his wife a diamond ring, and he's bought earrings for her on Valentine's Day. And who are they going to give the watch to? You're going to give the watch to that guy, not to you. So it's the exact same thing with cars. If you have bought a Cayenne from them, or a Boxster, or a Macan, and you've bought a few cars with them, you have a relationship with them, you've serviced your cars at the dealership, you've told them you want a GT car, maybe you get a used car and have it serviced there. That's how you develop the relationship. Because trust me, the guys that get the brand new GT cars have bought many Porsches from that dealer. They have spent lots of money with them. And if you're a business owner, who are you going to reward? The guy that walks in off the street, or the guy that's bought 6 Rolex watches from you, or 6 Porsches? You know the answer to that, right? That's the way it works. What do you think used cars are going to be less expensive? Here in southwestern Ontario, I picked up an 18 Jeep Grand Cherokee diesel Overland with 40,000 K, asking 47,000? Is that what you're saying? Is that 47,000? Rick, I think you maybe 47. That seems like a lot of money for that vehicle. The only thing I can think of with that particular model is the scarcity of the engine. And if somebody really, really, really wants to have a diesel, they're going to have to look far and wide to get one. That's the only way. But to me, that sounds kind of expensive. Now, the Overland is a higher trim level, but it certainly is something that you should do more research on. I would go to CanadianBlackBook.com and look up the value of the car, and they do it really kind of in real time within a few weeks, so you'll see where the values of the cars are. I got a note from Canadian Black Book today, actually, saying that prices of used cars between 2 and 6 years old are going down. There are a few exceptions, but it is compact utility vehicles, believe it or not. The biggest market in Canada, biggest market in the United States, has had a big drop in wholesale prices. So go to CanadianBlackBook.com and have a look at that and see if you can see for yourself. See if I missed any other super chats here. Oh, we have James. I just want to go down and get James's super chat. James is just doing a cheers, but I'm okay with that, James. I'll do a cheers. Nice super chat from James. Appreciate that. Oh, by the way, while I've got you all here, are you guys okay with twice a week, or do you want to just do this once a week? I'm good either way. I got to tell you, the camera thing was driving me crazy. But there you go. You guys tell me. Coco D, his current collection, Aquas, Oris Aquas, Seamaster 300M. Want to get into Rolex next. What do you recommend? Since we're on a watch theme, I figured I'd pick that one next. It's interesting. We're talking about buying a Porsche GT car from the dealer and how you get one, and I'm in this cycle right now where I just was in the Rolex dealer talking to them because there's another watch I got to kind of get my eye on. If it was me, and if you're buying your first Rolex, you're probably best to buy a used one from a reputable used dealer and get a Submariner. You never go wrong with a Submariner. And if not, then I would get one of the Oyster Perpetuals. They come in all different sizes, many different colors. That's the watch I'm looking at, a 39mm Oyster Perpetual in black. Hard to get, same thing. You're going to have to forge a relationship with the dealer and see what you can find out there. So I know this is about cars, but whenever somebody asks me about watches, I love watches. Oh, here's another one. Sorry to slip into the watch question. What's your recommendation on an automatic Swiss watch under $1,000? Just getting into watches. Automatic Swiss watch under $1,000. It wouldn't be a Swiss watch. It would be a Japanese watch. I would get depending on the size of your wrist, I would get a Seiko SKX007. An SKX007. They used to be about $200. Now they're going for about $400 or $500 because they stopped making them. But a Seiko SKX007. It's a dive watch. It's a great watch. I actually gave it to my youngest son. He said, I want a watch to wear, and I gave him that. And he's away camping right now. I have an 18 Honda Civic Sport hatchback. Maybe within a year I'm going to look into another car. Would you choose a 2-liter Accord Turbo or a TLX A-Spec? I would get the 2-liter Turbo Accord right now. Now, I'm not sure if you're talking about the all-new TLX that's going to be coming, because that's certainly got a lot of excitement. I don't know if you saw the video when I put it out, but yeah, people are really excited about that new TLX. But right now, it would be the 2-liter Accord. Sip and slam that like button. So, and the other thing, you can get the Accord with the manual transmission. If that's your thing, that's not a bad way to go. If you get the automatic, I think it's the 10-speed, I believe, is the one you get. Sorry, Raj, you're asking some really good questions. I'm just going to try and do some other ones here. Zach, I'd like to know your thoughts on the new Kia K5 versus a 2006 330xi. Thinking about a new car, but a sensible migration, or thinking about a new car, but a sensible migration upwards. I think there's a video that's going to come out, I think on Saturday, and it's about the Mitsubishi Outlander. And here's an interesting thing, and I'll get to your question in a second. Sales of the Mitsubishi Outlander have gone up 65% in June of 2020. So we're in the middle of a pandemic compared to a year ago. Now they have some incentives on the car, but this screams to me that people are looking for a sure bet when it comes to what they should do with their money and how they can protect themselves to any unexpected costs. And I really believe that buying a car like that is a way of hedging your monthly expenses. You know what the payments are, and you don't have to worry about repairs for many years because that car comes with a 10-year warranty. So you're talking about buying a 2006 BMW 330, which is now 14 years old, versus getting a brand new car with a full warranty, with all of the latest electronics, all of the latest advanced technology and safety equipment, the latest in-dash connectivity with your phones, all of the latest stuff, versus an unknown entity when it comes to repairs. So I don't know your situation when it comes to your finances. If you can afford to repair a 14-year-old BMW and you really think that's what you want, then go for it. But I believe, this is my theory, as we go through this pandemic, people are going to revert to sure things, things that they can depend on, things that they can trust, things that they can sort of rely on to be there and not to give them any financial shocks. That's where you're going to have brands like Kia, Hyundai, Mitsubishi, and others who offer value are going to be the winners in the new car race for pandemic. Now, Toyota is a great choice as well because they make very reliable cars. So that's just my thought process. How much can you absorb if you have a big repair in an older BMW versus having a brand new car under warranty, something to chew on? Okay? Wow, this is something. Stefan is saying, cheers live from my balcony, 38 degrees Celsius with humidity in Quebec City. Well, I'll cheers to that, and I'll tell you why. The summer here in Vancouver has gone on the crapper in the last 6 weeks. So when the pandemic hit in March, the skies parted. We had beautiful blue skies, sunny, nice weather. Now, considering the time of year, March, April, May, but the temperature started to go up. We had beautiful, beautiful weather. We hardly had any rain. It was sunny and nice every single day. June 1st comes, we head into the crapper. It's been showery. It's been cool. I've been taking the dog for a walk in the morning with a jacket on. It's the first, almost that's the second week of July. So I'm kind of envious that you have some nice summer hot weather. I think that probably would be better if you were sitting on a dock in the Laurentians going for a swim. That sounds pretty good because 38 is too hot. Atlas Cross, what the hell's it called again? Atlas Cross Sport versus Honda Passport, and why? Thanks. Well, both of them are kind of expensive. And the Passport, I don't really understand their pricing. I've seen on the streets 2 or 3 of them. I don't think it's selling particularly well. And there's a perfect opportunity to go to carcostcanada.com and look up what kind of incentives there are on that as they sort of wind down the 2020 models and get ready for 2021s. Because I almost guarantee you there will be some for sale. Or they're going to have discounts on them. I don't think it's moving particularly well. Now the Atlas Cross Sport, or Sport Cross Sport, is new. So they're not going to have any discounts or very little on that. And the difference between the Passport and the Atlas is the Atlas is a German-made utility vehicle. And in my belief, this is my theory on this, it's an alternative to buying a luxury German brand. So somebody that maybe had an X5 or an older Mercedes-Benz GLE or an Audi Q5 can say, well, I'll get a German utility. I'll get this sort of funky-looking Atlas, and I'll get it fully loaded. And even fully loaded with everything in it, it's still way cheaper than my Audi, Mercedes, or BMW. So it kind of lives in a different world. The Passport, on the other hand, doesn't have that same kind of appeal. It's just another Japanese SUV. So, and the other interesting thing is, not that many people are going to buy it, but the Atlas is available with the GTI engine in it, the 4-cylinder turbo. Something to think about. Jerry's asking the question, when will you do a segment on the new Bronco? So yesterday they had a deep technical dive on the Bronco, 2 hours long, going through all aspects of the Bronco. Now the information is under embargo until Monday at 5 p.m. It's actually the exact same time this goes live. 5 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So that Bronco video will be going out then. They don't even send us the images of the car until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so that means that's what, 11 in the morning my time. So I have between 11 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon to edit the video. So It's quite interesting the way they've done it. They give you a deep technical dive on the product, but you don't get any images. They sort of show you just little corners of it. The actual shots of the vehicle will be released to us, 5 or 6 hours in advance, and then we have that amount of time to put together the print stories, the newspaper articles, and all that stuff, and including the video. So that's when you're going to get that. Bradley says, hey Zach, why do Porsche dealerships seem to never have base models with no options on the lot? Because they know what people buy, and nobody buys a base Porsche. Porsches are an a la carte product. And so if you ever go on the Porsche website, everything is an add-on, okay? Which is good and bad. The bad is it costs a fortune to get a car equipped with all the toys on it. The good is you get equipped exactly the way you want. So you don't have to get different trim levels in order to get the features you want. You just sort of click all the buttons and the car shows up 3-4 months later exactly the way you want it. So what the dealers do, so dealers, when they order the cars, they just don't get the base model. They have to actually equip the car with the favorite things that most people order. So they would have the comfort and convenience package, which is the automatic doors and the automatic key. They would have things like the LED headlamps, the big sunroof. So all of the main features that most people order is what they would get. So the only way you would ever get a base model Porsche is if you actually ordered a base model Porsche. Dealers will not bring those in because they're not going to be saleable. You mentioned the Bank of Toyota often. How do they set their leasing percentages? Toyota never seems to have low rates, which takes away from their good resale value. Same for Wranglers. It all comes down to supply and demand, my friends. Now, money right now is as close to free for major borrowers like Toyota as you're going to get, but it isn't free. So zero interest, they don't get the money at zero. If a car manufacturer is passing off a 0% loan or lease, they're actually buying down the cost of the money, okay? So it costs them something to do that. So Toyota, if they have a RAV4 hybrid and people are lining up to get it and it takes 3 months to get one, you're a businessman. Would you write down the cost of that loan so someone can get it for cheaper? Or are you going to pass the cost of that along to the person that wants it? If people want your product, why would you discount it? So they're in a bit of the driver's seat, pardon the pun, because they have products that people are willing to pay for. People are willing to pay slightly more for the interest rates because they do have good resale value. They do have a good repair record and so on. So they have earned that reputation over a long period of time. Do I think that interest rates will come down? I think that they're going to be in a competitive market with everybody else. So here we are, 3-4 months into this pandemic, we're starting to see resale picking up again. A lot of that could just be leases that were due to be returned during the pandemic were being held back, like people weren't returning their cars. And now that the dealerships are open, they're actually giving their cars back and getting a new one. So once that cycle moves through the funnel, what are the real car sales going to be like? Well, it's going to be interesting to see. But it's going to be a hyper-competitive market to actually capture the people that actually want to get their cars. I think I saw a super chat in. Is this right? This can't be right. What the hell? I just want to make sure this is right. James, are you feeling okay? A super chat for $400? Have you been having too many of the super sips? I just want to make sure you know you did that. Are you sure it wasn't $4? Because you just put $400 in there. For that, I will look into your request. So what I want to know is, what are you referring to? Do a review of that company that does the van conversions up the coast. Are you talking about the guys in Squamish? because there's a guy that does those. I just want to make sure you knew you did that, because if you did, that's baller. Kai, I like this. Kai said, sorry, Jai says you better have a good explanation for your wife. Yeah, I'd say. Wow. Oh, Mike Gurr's here. James equals legend. Hey, Mike. Nice to see you, brother. Mike Gurr, who was a contributor for a couple of years on the channel. I'd love to have you back when you have time. And I'm having a super sip for him because Mike runs a brewery in Toronto. So Mike Gurr, send me a text. How are things going? Mike got married last year. Is the brewery open? How are things going? By the way, I don't want you to think that I only buy, big brands. I actually bought a microbrewery beer, and Jack didn't know about it, that I have in the fridge. It's called Off the Rail Brewing in Vancouver. I just want to see if James James, I don't know if you know what you did. I think James meant $400. Wow, I don't know. I send you a check. You flummoxed me. I don't know what to say. $5 from Navis Worker. Sorry, my question was unclear. I have a BMW and I want to know if your thoughts on the K5. It's a sensible purchase. Well, there you go. I was going on and on about, buying a 14-year-old BMW versus buying a new K5, which is still valuable information because some people are in this situation where they, they need to know what their costs are every month, and I think that's where a new car or a lightly used car is going to play. Now, is a K5 going to replace a BMW? I don't believe that's going to be the case because it's an Optima, right? It's a Kia Optima with a new name called K5, and they're adding all-wheel drive. I would say probably a closer replacement for your BMW would be like the G70 from Genesis, maybe a Stinger, but not the K5. The K5 is still going to be, for the most part, a front-wheel drive bias, if it is an all-wheel drive, a front-wheel bias all-wheel drive system. I don't think it's going to replace your BMW in terms of driving, but it'll be brand new. All right. So James, I don't know what to say, brother. I gotta find where I was. What do you recommend as a useful truck? SUV's better on gas than a truck. Why not sure which to buy? Would you recommend a good utility with good miles per gallon? Good utility with good miles per gallon is going to be, if you can find a diesel SUV, that's the best way to get good mileage out of an SUV. And the same is true for trucks, right? The good news is that General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler all are back with some really good diesels these days. So I'm not sure if you're buying a brand new one. The one that seems to have the best fuel economy right now is the Ram 1500, their Eco Diesel. The one that I like for drivability the best is the F-150 with their 3-liter diesel. Is so quiet and so smooth. It's the same diesel engine for the most part they use in Land Rover and Range Rover. And by the way, Land Rover and Range Rover using a Ford engine, okay? So it's all kind of married together. That's the star of the show, if you ask me. But when it comes to just straight fuel economy, I think it's the Ram that wins. And if you're looking for best fuel economy in an SUV application, if you can find a used Touareg, for example, would give you the best fuel economy. Is there going to be a glut of unsold 2020 models due to the COVID-19 pandemic? I think it's really going to be quite specific to how much inventory was sold during the pandemic. Because you got to remember that car plants shut down, right, for several months. So in some areas, cars were allowed to be sold. So I do know, for example, that a lot of the trucks, like the Rams and the Sierras and Silverados and so on, the inventory of those was dwindling at dealerships because they're still continuing to sell, excuse me, quite well. But the factories weren't replenishing them. And now we're starting to see the factories coming online, but I don't believe that factories are running at the same run rate that they were before. Actually, I'm gonna say, it reminds me, I'm gonna write this down. Send Scott an email. Okay, I'm gonna ask this question. Um, um, Scott is my contact at Toyota Canada in marketing. Sorry, in a PR. I got to get this thing to focus again. Hello. There we go. It's quirky, this new camera. He has an interesting job. So he's in PR for Toyota Canada, not only for the sales and what we get to use on our side, but also for the manufacturing. So he was heavily involved in Toyota manufacturing in Cambridge, which is one of the biggest manufacturing facilities in North America. So I will send him an email and I will find out if what he knows about factories, if they're back up to their regular capacity. So a new car comes off the line roughly one a minute, right, at a very efficient factory. Speaking of Tesla earlier, their run rate varies from one every 3 to 5 minutes. So not efficient, right? And that's where these big companies like Toyota and so on are very efficient at producing cars at low cost. So what I think is going to be interesting to see is, are they going to be able to replenish those cars at the dealerships to meet demand, or is there going to be too much and too much supply for the demand? It's going to be a very interesting dance, and I think the car manufacturers are trying to figure out what is the speed that we make these cars and deliver to them to the dealers, because if they have too many of them, to your point, there's going to be a glut, and the way you get the cars sold is you have to heavily discount them. So it's going to be this incredible dance, and if anybody tells you they know what's going to happen with COVID-19, they don't. Nobody knows. We're all just making this up as we go along. There were some smart people that have good guesses, but that's all they are. They're just guesses. So what are the buying habits of people going to be? Are they going to be able to buy down the inventory? Are the factories going to be able to supply them at the rate that they need them? Are there going to be too many? Not enough? These are all questions. But I am going to send Scott an email, and I'm going to find out if they're up to the run rate that they were pre-COVID and what they think it's going to be. Because he's the guy that would know. Hey, Zach, is it worth the extra money to upgrade to an X3 with the M40 engine, the GLC 300 with the GLC 43? I'll just click on that again. I'm going to change this next time so it stays on longer. Is it fun enough to drive to justify the price increase for either vehicle? Yes. The short answer is yes. And the M40 engine is fantastic. And here's the interesting thing about that engine in particular. Inline 6-cylinder, turbocharged, great horsepower, lots of torque, makes a world of difference in that product. If you drive it just normally and you don't kick it all the time to get the most out of the engine all the time, it can actually return really good fuel economy. So yes, it's more expensive to buy, but it's not going to totally kill you at the pumps, okay? So I have, interestingly enough, I'm going to go to my calendar here. I have, I think I have it next week. I have 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, I have the GLC 43. I'm going to do a review on it. So if you're not in a rush, I encourage you to watch that review. I'll do it with Andrea. But right now, I would say the inline 6-cylinder from BMW in that size car is going to be pretty hard to beat. James is back. Is this show a drinking game for us all now? I don't know. It might be for you, James, with the super chat you just clicked on. I don't know, brother. Hey, Jazz, this is really nice of you to say. You have a nice family. I appreciate that. I do. They keep me around. That's a good thing. Andrea's fantastic. I got to tell you, I don't know what you guys think with Andrea. Before we go today, what you're thinking about her doing these reviews. I think she's doing an incredible job. I'm going to do a video with her about get to know Andrea, because she has an interesting story in broadcasting. She's a broadcaster. She's stay-at-home mom now, but and does the videos with me. But she has a broadcasting background, and I think that comes through in the videos. And also, she's turned into a bit of a car sort of nerd too. Like, she knows a lot about this stuff because she's been hanging around with me all these years and seen all these different cars parked in front of the house. She knows a lot about them. So tell me what you think. I think she's doing a great job. The comments are quite interesting, and she noticed this. And you have to be protective of your wife. Some of the comments initially were not very nice because people are just mean online. Not you guys, but other people saying, not so nice things. But what's interesting, and she noticed this, and it's true, now that she's been on more and more and more, the tide has turned where it's now become Team Andrea, and all the comments are about her and what a great job she's doing. And by the way, who's that idiot you drive around in the car with? Me. So I'd love to hear your feedback. I think she's doing a great job. And Jack, you're a good boy for getting me a beer.
Oh, thanks.
All right, buddy. Welcome back. I missed you. I want to ask about the reliability of the CVT in the Outback 2020. I've read a lot of CVT haters on YouTube. It's something you need to try, okay? You have to drive it and see if you like it. It's interesting because Consumer Reports just seems lately to be falling all over a Subaru. They just love that brand. It's interesting to see how things in their magazine kind of fall in and out of favor. And right now, they're all Team Subaru. So based on that and their quality scores, they like them. The Outback is a unique property because it's really the only thing going. If you want to have a station wagon-like utility, that's it, unless you go premium. They got rid of the Venza, they got rid of the All-Track. Now you have to go and get a Volvo V something, or you've got to get an Audi A4, something like that. You've got to go premium. So it's quite a nice vehicle for what it offers. A lot of space on the inside, especially front to back. A lot of dog owners love them, easy for dogs to jump in and out of. So give it a shot. If you like the CVT, go for it. My opinion, and go back and watch the video I did when we went to the launch in the Yukon, which is just spectacular up there, is get the turbo if you can afford it. That's the one I would get. Parm is here asking any price information on the G80 2021. As a matter of fact, I have, let me just find the email today that came through from them. I need to find it. There it is, from Jared. He's the PR guy. And here is the pricing for the G80. Okay, the G80 2.5T with all-wheel drive with an 8-speed automatic transmission is $66,000. These are Canadian dollars. And the G80 35T, both of these are turbocharged engines. Same engines they're going to have in the GV80. So the G80 3.5 turbo, that's a 6-cylinder with all-wheel drive and an 8-speed automatic, is $76,000. But keep in mind that it comes with complimentary maintenance, at-home valet pickup and drop-off, complimentary courtesy vehicle, comprehensive warranty, complimentary navigation map updates, 24/7 premium roadside assistance, and Genesis connected services. That's the telematics that you can use in the infotainment screen. So I don't know, Parm, if that was a setup. You work for Genesis. I don't know, but there you go. Okay, I just want to go down to the bottom here and see if I missed any other super chats. James, I got to take a picture of James's super chat. That's legendary. I'd love that if more people did the $400 one. So can we go 500? I'm just going through the bottom. So anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody for being here. Please give those a thumbs up and a like. I'm going to have salmon. Andrea's making salmon with pesto on top. It's delicious. So thanks to everybody that tuned in. Back again Monday. A Bronco video will drop on Monday at the same time, so you can watch that after the fact. It's only going to be a few minutes long anyway. Yeah, so Bronco video is dropping Monday. I think it's Outlanders dropping on Saturday and other stuff. So stay tuned, all right? Take care, everybody. Cheers. All the best.